Good afternoon. Good morning. Just want to check everything okay. Oh, you guys can hear me all right. I am feeling a lot better, sounding a lot better, feeling a lot better. So the weekend came in at a good time. Hope you're all well. Hey, Trusting Cloud, how you doing? Big shout out to Snow, very early into the stream. Looking forward to another session. Hey, Vel. Hey, Ola. Hey, BL. Hey, Jen B. Hey, Spiros. How are you all doing? Thanks for that, Trusting Cloud. Hi, Angel Case. Yeah, I do, you know, bounce back quite quickly in terms of whenever I'm ill. Hi, Haida, how are you doing? Again, a couple of minutes before we get started. Hey, Lee Frank, good to see you. While we give it that couple of minutes, do help me out. Click that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Click that rocket ship button on TradingView. Let's see who else we can get on board. Hey, Kegusi, good to see you. I think most of you are already in the trading community, but if you haven't, the link is there. If you haven't joined. Hey, Nick, see you. Didn't think we were on today. Yeah, I mean, yeah, on last week on Friday, I'll tell you guys, it really didn't look like I was going to be on today. Last week on Friday, I was just going like, oh, I feel like crap. It's a big holiday day right across the market. So I was just thinking, is it worthwhile jumping on? Uh, but we're here. It's a habit. It's a habit. It's a routine. It's clockwork. So we're here. Hey, Robbie, how you doing? It has been a quiet day, BL. I did get into two very small scalps. Just trying, thought I could front run the market a little bit. Got into two small, tiny scalps, and then got out. That was on the Aussie dollar. I was selling it down, made a little bit, tiny bit, and then it bounced back up. And then on the Kiwi dollar as well, I sold it down, made a little bit more, but then it bounced back up again. So, I'm pretty much neutral. I'm pretty much sitting around waiting. I'm neutral, sitting around waiting for something to happen. Hey Lily, how are you doing? US debt ceiling, there was a deal. I think there is a deal on the table that they would agree to, but I don't think it is signed off yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it is signed off yet. I think it's just a deal on the table. So haven't seen that big reaction. I think because of that, because it's not signed off. So we might see more impact of that coming around. Hey Slumdog, good to see you. How are you doing? Good morning, Booba. Alrighty, let's get started. So again, big thank you all for joining me on this potentially relatively quiet market. With the way most markets are on holiday for today. But we're still here. We're going to do the daily market analysis. It might be a short and sharp session, but let's see how it goes. All right. During this session, what we do is look at the fundamentals, look at how the news, not a lot of news for today, but the news is going to impact prices. Then we look at the technicals in terms of where price is at the moment, how it could react to a possible support or resistance levels. and then look for some possible trade setups, right? In terms of trade setups, we are looking at the H1 time frame kind of trades. We do have members who have just recently asked whether we could be looking at some swing trades as well. So as much as I can, I'll try and identify some swing trades, but I think to try and keep it a bit more succinct, to keep it a bit clearer during this session, it will be on a short intraday kind of trades. I will supplement that probably during in the trading community with the swing trades. Okay, so if you haven't already, do join the trading community. The link is there for you guys. It is free to join and free to stay as a member. All I ask is for you guys to contribute. Put in your trade ideas, put in your questions, put in your ideas, and then we can have a discussion from there. We take it beyond this daily market analysis session, chatting pretty much through the day. Okay, if you're new to the session, a big welcome. Thank you for joining me. Do put it into the chat. Let me know where are you joining from. I am particularly interested to see how far reaching or where our members are coming from. Okay, so with that, let's keep going. A quick disclaimer: any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. So please do your own due diligence, DYODD, because the contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. And your objectives, financial situation, and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Okay, so with that said, let's keep going. I don't think it's going to be a big trade idea kind of day, because look what's happening today. We've got the Swiss on a holiday, we've got the UK on a holiday, we've got the French and the Germans on a bank holiday, and the US is on a bank holiday. What's happening right now? It is not a market shutdown. It is the Whit Monday. I have no idea what's the Whit Monday. Summer bank holidays, and in the US, it's also Memorial Day. Okay, so I hope everyone else around the world is enjoying a nice long weekend. Right? Hope you're enjoying a nice long weekend. But as you can see, prices are still moving. Right? The euro dollar in the last 6 hours, very tiny move. 12 pips, 9 pips on the pound, 32 on the yen, and then a bit on the CAD, just a little bit on the Aussie and the pound yen as well. So not, yeah, you got that right, Frank. It's gonna be a slow day. So let's review and see what's happening. Might not be something that will be jumping into a lot of trades, even into tomorrow. Again, not a lot of news as well. Okay, not a lot of news as well. Swiss with their GDP, the Euro, Spanish flash CPI. Again, I don't think these are big price movers into tomorrow, but I do think the volatility, the liquidity will return tomorrow, because we are possibly going to get a little bit more information about the agreement for the US debt ceiling crisis, right? More information about that agreement that could lead to that return in volatility. So that could be something to look out for, but we'll discuss more about that tomorrow during the session at 3 p.m. GMT plus 8. All right. Good morning, Stefan. How are you doing? Hey, take calculated risk. How are you doing too? So in terms of the news, not much. What we had on Friday was the core PCE price index a little bit higher than expected. It was 0.3. They was expecting a 0.3, came out at a 0.4. It did not have a massive impact on the dollar index, because this is still a monthly number. In fact, you can see here on the charts, when the news, it was actually coming, dollar index was coming down, and the news at 8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8, it caused the dollar to bounce back up, right? Caused the dollar to bounce back up. for slight reason or slight increased chance that we might see or we might not see that pause in the um, rate hike because of some small core PC price index increase. Okay, I think that um, it's not going to change the scope of things because you can see that as much as it shot up, it came straight back down or pretty much straight back down to test this afternoon, testing that trend line again, now looking like it's pushing, possibly pushing back up. But, look at that. The last time we were talking about this, I said that it could come down, test that trend line, and bounce up to 104.30. It got to 104.30, went as high as 104.40, 41 before retracing. So particularly pleased about how it bounced off this trend line to go towards that level that we identified. All right. Hey Goju, how you doing? Hendricks was saying debt ceiling crisis, as you put it, has been resolved. 4 trillion raise, okay, until 2050. Okay, so the deal is done. Okay, so the deal is done. I thought it was just an agreement that they haven't signed off yet, but according to Hendricks sharing the info, it's raised. So the debt ceiling has been raised to 4 trillion. I think it's 3 point. It was 3.4, so it got raised to 4 trillion until 2025 and 50 million in cuts. All right, so that's going to be, I think there was also another clause of that there will be no adjustments to tax as well. Okay, thanks for sharing that, Hendricks. So that was the move on the dollar index, particularly pleased how it bounced off of that trend line as a support. With that, nothing much else. And then weekend we had the news about the debt crisis. Okay, so let's look into the charts. With the dollar now trading at 104.12, that's 29th, and also with not a lot of news, well, no news happening at all for today. I think that I'm looking for this. I think we can take out. I'm looking for this trend line to hold. I'm still possibly anticipating that the dollar index could trade up slightly. So from 104.12 back up towards 104 under 40. It's just within this range. So I can consolidate within this range. Okay, so consolidate between 104.10 and 104.3 or 0.40. Okay, it's not going to be an exciting, unlikely to be a big exciting moves today. However, what I will be watching out for is the potential for the dollar index to break, not just break this trend line, but also break that resistance turn support level of 104, right? Because if it does break this point, then we could see quite significant downside to the dollar index. However, I think this might be slightly unlikely. Okay. Hey Shiwan, hey Jimmy, how you doing? Hey Digital Business, good to see you. So I think it's going to consolidate along this range before pushing up slightly. However, I think that lower liquidity, lower volatility, it could just stay within this range with not a lot of excitement. Okay, so between 104.10 and 104.40 would be, I would say between 104 and 104.40 will be fair. Good morning, Jamil. Good to see you. Okay, so that's the overall basis and overall bias for the dollar index. Then looking at the Kiwi dollar. Okay, Hey, Jocelyn from Kenya, good to have you here. Okay, so Kiwi dollar, we were looking at this on Friday, expecting it to come up, test that 23.6 level before turning to the downside. It came to the range, right along that level 6096. It didn't go as high as 6010, 6096. Test that level or that area before turning back down. So if you guys did catch up to this trade, do let me know. So they came up around this resistance area before turning back down. So that trade, if we were drawing it a bit more specifically as we were on Friday, so it wouldn't be on Saturday at 3 a.m., right? On Friday, that would have worked out quite nicely for, if you guys did jump into that trade setup. We were saying to sell from 6095, 20 pips to 50 pips, right? So 6095 was just about there. You would have just triggered that trade. With the Kiwi dollar now at 6060, and also not expecting a lot of volatility across the market, I think that we could see this trade down, but I'll keep that there. We could see this trade down, but I think that the downside would be limited. Right, downside on the Kiwi dollar would be limited. I don't even think it will get to 6022, but that would be the limit of that downside. Right, you could see it come down to this point. That would be from here would be about a 30 pip move to the downside. Okay, so this is one reason why I'm looking at this, and I'm not particularly keen on any trades at this point, because a 30 pip take profit at best, you would have a 20 pip stop loss above that previous high. Not really worth that kind of risk, because it could jolly well just bounce back up. Okay, so I would just stay out of the Kiwi at this point, right? And most likely, as much as we're thinking that it could come down to 6022, most likely it will just come to about this range and then just bounce around here. I think it's going to bounce around that level. Okay, so nothing too keen on the Kiwi dollar, unless for some crazy reason we see a big spike, a big push to the downside, then only I'll be looking to sell down below 0.60, stop loss maybe 30 pips, take profit will go down 150 pips to the downside. I don't think this will be something for today. Okay, we'll see how we go. This summary sheet might not make a lot of sense today, because it's just going to be a lot of wait and see. All right. If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat and let me know. I'm not running any classes right now, but the trading community is there. You can always send it off to your friends to invite your friends in. Okay, so the Aussie dollar. Okay, so I'll show you as well the Kiwi dollar trade. Quick scalp that I did was this move. It was really that one quick scalp to the downside that I got in, got out very quickly, and then it bounced back up. So that was how I did my scalps. Aussie dollar as well, same thing during that same time, got in, got out within that candle before it bounced back up. Right now, looking like it's pushing down again. So the Aussie dollar on Friday did not trigger, but right now it looks like it's pushing down. I would say just don't feel like you're going to rush into that. It does look like it came up to this 38.2 region and showing some retracement, but I think that what we're likely to see is that it's going to retrace. It's going to retrace down, and then after that push back up again. in a very short time frame, it could come down to that 50% level, right? Just so happen I drew that third at a 50% level as well. So it could come down to that 50% level at 6525 before bouncing back up. I think test that resistance level again. Okay, just checking something here. Yeah, so we have that 50% right there. I'll be looking for this. I'll be looking for the Aussie dollar to continue to the upside. Would I be looking to rush into a trade unless you are scalping? But maybe what you could be looking for here will be if it does break above that 6565 level, you could be looking to buy it up 15-20 pip stop loss. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would still say just sit it out, watch what happens. It does look like it's going to come down and bounce, but looking at the way this big downward move has been happening, we do have that double bottom formed here, right? We do have a bit of a double bottom formed here. If you really had to, then I would say above that 50% level needs to break above 50%. So 6580, almost 60 pip take profit, 20 to 30 pip stop loss, speculative push to the upside. Okay, so I think Kiwi dollar will say nothing. I would say this is going to be a buy. 6580, 25 pip to 60 pip. So buy 6580, 25 pips to a take profit of about 60 pips. But this will be a bit unlikely. I think it's possibly going to come up and test within this region. I don't think it's going to have that big push up. Good afternoon, Ishi. Oh, Serene, I think. Okay. So that's the Aussie dollar. Yeah, it does look like double bottom forming, small retrace, likely to continue to the upside, but I'm not sure whether it's in the big push up. Then, oh, sorry, let me just check one more thing. 61.8 will be about there. Okay. Then, looking at the US yen, we were looking for it to come down, test 38.2, test the trend line. It didn't go as far as we thought. 139.50, 53 before bouncing back up again. Okay, so that could have worked out well for those who did jump onto the US yen. If I drag this right up, you can see that 38.2 is the level it could come down to test. Dollar is weakening, right? Dollar is showing that hesitation is likely to test within this range. So I think that we're likely to see the dollar yen trade to the downside. What I would like to see is, and this I think would be a more likely scenario, would be for this to come down before bouncing up. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that big push to the downside because of the way the yen has been trending, or the US yen has been trending up. So I think that we could see this either push up from here or bounce, trade down, bounce to the upside because of that dollar weakness. That's why I'm looking for some downside move. You would also note that 141 is very close as a resistance level. So let's just check a couple of levels here. Next big one would be at 142.20. Okay, so what I would say is that Let's do this. Dollar weakening due to debt ceiling issue. Yeah, it is dollar weakening, maybe a bit because of that, but I think that the dollar is weakening because there's just no big reason for it to have that big push. Not yet, possibly. Okay, so I do think that we're still looking for it to push up, uh, but possibly not today, more into tomorrow. In terms of the US yen, I would be at this point, I'll be a bit hesitant. Right? Could you be looking to buy this up from here? 40, 50 pip to the upside, possibly not worthwhile. I would say that the US yen would be a trade to the upside if it breaks above 141. So about 141 dot, be extra safe, 141.20, about a almost 100 pip to the upside, stop loss tight at about 30 pips. Okay. So that's the US yen. I would buy above 141.20. Stop loss would be about 30 and take profit about 100. Or even 90, we can do that. 95 to 100. All good so far. Put it into the chat. Let me know if it makes sense. It's not super exciting for today, but do put it into the chat. Let me know if it makes sense. And if you haven't already, do help me out. Click that like button on YouTube and that little rocket ship button on TradingView. Then next up, the pound dollar. Look at that. That was pretty much spot on, right? So pound dollar, we said that it could get up to 50 pip on the one from 1.2360. So that's 50 up there. It came up to that 50% retracement level where the arrow was before turning back down again. I think that a couple of you did get into that pound dollar trade, so very good there. Went up, tested 50%, came back down, bouncing now along this 1.2355 level. I am still considering that downside for the pound dollar. Right, just looking at the way it's been moving, right? We could even be looking at that being applied. So it shot up, tested this level, came close. I would still be possibly looking at further downside on the pound dollar, especially now looking at this. Could be looking at this breaking out of that triangle to the downside. So looking on the pound dollar to sell down, I would say 1.2340. Stop loss about 30 pips. Take profit would be the first one about 30. Could go all the way down about 60 pips to the support level at 1.2280. Right? So I should like this setup, especially if it breaks out of that brief upward trend line. So 1.2340, 30 pip stop loss, 60 pip take profit. Sell 1.23, the same number, 6080, 40, 30 and 60. 1.2340, stop loss 30, take profit 60. There we go. And then I actually really like this. This is actually forming up quite nicely. Then onto the euro dollar, look at that again. I was just sharing this earlier today in the community where it shot up. We were looking for it to test and reject that trend line to the downside. It did that to the T. And that was a good 40 pips. Could even have gone down to 50 pip take profit to the downside. Okay, so now very similar to the pound dollar, very similar to what has been happening on the euro dollar as well. It has come up, tested that resistance, and looking like it's going to push down. I would say that this one, I would be a bit more careful. Right? I'll be a bit more careful on the euro dollar here, because if I do sell down at 1.07, below 1.0730, stop loss maybe about 17 to 20 pips. Your take profit is only about 25 pips. All right, so I think again has limited downside. Wisdom, who's back? They're back. Who's back? Okay, so I think that it could come down, but there might be limited downside with the 1.07 as a strong support level. So I would say that possibly do nothing on the euro, but it could trade down towards 1.07. Okay, so possibly nothing, or scalp down to 1.07. Not a intraday kind of trade. It's just not enough distance for it to push to the downside as a trade, as an intraday trade setup. Okay, and then onto the Swiss franc. Did not drop as much as we thought before bouncing back up. In fact, it only came down to that 9020 level before bouncing strongly. At this point, I think that what we're likely to see on the US Swiss franc is a consolidation just below that resistance of 9065, or more specifically, I would say about 9070. So I think it's going to consolidate just below that resistance of 9070. Not super exciting there. Dollar pushing up a little bit. So Swiss franc likely to consolidate below 0.9070. Okay. All good, all good. Like I promised, I think this is a short and sharp session. US CAD came, we're expecting for it to come down. It didn't come down, and in fact, it went up. Right, it went up because, as we saw on the dollar, it shot up 8 p.m. time, GMT plus 8, it shot up. That correlation 8 p.m. also shot up to test that resistance of 1.365, almost 1.3650, that resistance area. So it went up, tested that resistance, trading down. A little bit surprised that it's trading down that much, but I think that you can see this level forming here. We're also within that range there, so I think that from here we might be able to see it push up. And this forms at just below that 1.36 support area, round number area. So I think if that bounces, we could see this trade up slightly this way, back up towards that resistance of 1.3650. But again, dollar index pushing up is going to drive this to the upside. Should you enter a trade here, I would be, it's about a 35, almost 40 pip take profit. Stop loss maybe 20 pips. Maybe you might be able to look for 20 to 40 1 to 2 risk ball ratio trade to the upside. So you could be looking at 1.3610, 20 pip stop loss, 40 pip take profit. So buy. This, and I don't really like this, but it's really, if you had to force out a trade, or if you really wanted to enter a trade, you could be looking. I would say that if you really wanted to enter a trade, I think the pound dollar looks a lot more attractive than anything else we've been talking about so far. Buy 1.3610, stop loss 20 pips, take profit 40 pips. Okay. Look for completion of retracement before selling down from 9 to 19, below 1954 on gold. What we actually saw was that it didn't retrace as high as we thought. I think it went to that 38.2 level and then traded back down. So it did come down from 1954 down towards that 1936 support area. With the way the dollar index looks like it's pushing up, I think that we could see this trade within this range again. So likely to test 1936 area, but I think it's going to bounce in this fashion, right? Unless we see a clear directional bias being formed. Pound dollar reached its limit. Getting there, I always want the candle to close. So you have about 20, couple, well, 14, 20 minutes more to wait for the candle to close before looking to sell down. Why the candle close? Because I don't want a situation like that where we see a tail, looks like it's breaking, and the next moment it doesn't, and then it continues trading up. So hold, be patient, wait for the candle to close. So looking back at gold again, then I would say that it's going to range between, it could trade down to 1936, but it's going to range between 1936 and 1945. Thanks for that, DL. Could trade down to 1936, likely range between 1936 and 1945. Okay, makes sense so far, all good. Then Buba was asking about the CAD Swiss franc. Do I even have that? Yeah, I don't have that there. So CAD CHF. You guys making me look at interesting pairs here. Oh, we got a big, let's refresh this. We do have a level here. I would say that I'll take this point at 6664 and again at 6685 as a resistance, near-term resistance. In fact, I would say I'll take this big level up here. Then I would have a big strong support down here at 6625. So looking at the way it's moving, CAD Swiss franc, if the CAD gets, we're anticipating the CAD dollar to push, the US CAD to push up, then that could cause, that weakness could cause this to come back down. Think that, okay, I'm not familiar with this pair, but it might be a situation where we could see this form or reject that resistance level at 6665 to trade down towards that support level of 6625. All right, Buba, I hope I answered your question there on the CAD Swiss franc. Any further questions? When there's nothing much to talk about, it's quite quick to get through the analysis. Swing trades. So for anyone, for members who are asking about the swing trades, I think that, so I was saying that it might get a bit messy talking about swing trades and intraday trades at the same time. Uh, in particular, I think today will be what am I gonna write? In particular, I think that it would be not a good day to start looking at swing trades just because of how everything is sitting in a relative consolidation. So we'll get something going on the swing trades, but let me figure out how best to convey those messages. All right, if you haven't got any further questions, as usual, I hope you enjoyed the session. If you can, help me out, click that like and subscribe button. The summary sheet is there on TradingView for you guys. And, do trade well, trade safe. I will catch you in the trading community if something happens. If not, then we'll catch you all tomorrow, 3 p.m. GMT +8, same time, same place. Take care now. Bye bye. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming in.